say anything about what kind of trainings are useful for those who want to work in the palliative care field? I am an educator who has done home health care and volunteer work supporting families in the process.
Great. Yes, come join us. We know we have a workforce issue. The field is growing, but not nearly rapidly enough to meet the current demand, let alone the aging population. So yes, we need you. Now, it can be hard, especially from a clinical point of view. Doctor, nurse, social worker, chaplain, there are training pathways to get to palliative care. Each of those fields has a whole pathway set out for certification, et cetera. But to your point, as an educator, that's not such a clear pathway. I will say a couple different things here. So there's the field per se, but then there's this sort of allied fields. Because outside of the medical specialty of palliative care, of course, all sorts of ways to concert your activities around treating suffering and participating in one's quality of life. The arts is a good example. So one idea here would be in the abstract, think of any work and look through any sort of lens of work and find ways to participate in caring for one another and participating in quality of life and participating in some way around meaning making and the relief of suffering. That can be a little abstract. Now, shy of that, more directly, somewhere in the middle here, one of the something on Ascent here is the field, quasi field of death doulas. I think many of us are aware of birth doulas, but there is similar work that happens at the other end of life, and this is lovingly called death doulas. There are training programs that are setting up. I'm on the advisory board of a group called INELDA, INELDA, INELDA.org. Look them up. But the barriers to training in that work are much lower than the health sciences per se. But it can be beautiful work and ranges from grief support to practical support on the ground, to breathing with people through their own death, to being there for the family. It's much less structured and routinized, but therefore much more open. So you might consider yourself work in the doula field. There's a lot of beauty to that. And then lastly, would be to exercise your chops as an educator and perhaps in administrative work too, because certainly any palliative care group or any hospice organization, many of them are considered around public engagement, training within their own organizations, also public education. So you might be able to exercise those good chops just by finding any palliative care program or any hospice that is hiring. So those are some thoughts. Oh, last thought, if you want to go and get more training from an academic point of view, like a master's, University of Colorado, I believe, was the first. You can get a master's in palliative care. I think University of Washington may have a program now. So there may be a way for you to look into those programs, get a master's in palliative care, but you would be, your funnel for your work would be in the education plane. I believe those master's programs have that kind of breadth. So thank you for that question, and thanks for the interest. Find a way in. We need more folks.